literal perfection. Oh God. Hi friends, welcome to today's video. This is a very exciting one. It's in partnership with one of my favorite brands ever. I've been using them since before I made cooking videos on the internet. I grew up using their products when I was a kid. It's the only chorizo my family has ever bought in Chicago for forever, as long as I can remember. That is B&B Supremo. They have a new product. It's their Chicken Chorizo. It's absolutely delicious. There's like very little grease to it. A lot of store-bought chorizo these days have a ton of fat in them. So that's why this is absolutely amazing. I've been using their Chihuahua cheese for years. I always get this big bag at Costco. And I literally always use their chorizo. I always have their pork chorizo frozen, but now I might be switching over to the chicken chorizo. And a little tip for you guys, I always keep the chorizo in the freezer. It defrosts super fast and you'll never have chorizo go to waste. Not only is it exciting today because I'm using my favorite product and it's delicious, we're gonna make my favorite food ever. We're making chorizo chilaquiles, pure deliciousness. I'm gonna cook up some chorizo. We're gonna make a salsa roja. We're gonna mix some of it with the chorizo, and then we're gonna top some of the chilaquiles with more chorizo that's not in the salsa. It's gonna be absolutely delicious. Let's make it. That was good. To start our chorizo chilaquiles, I'm gonna use this entire pack of chicken chorizo. I'm gonna take it out of the casing and add it to the skillet. We're gonna break it up and start cooking it down. This one pack of chicken chorizo is 14 ounces, so just under a pound. This is what it looks like. We're gonna cut a slit through it and just add it to our skillet. Just break it down with a spoon and cook it for around 8 to 10 minutes. This is how your chorizo will start looking when you start breaking it down. This is why I love this chorizo so much. Most chorizos are super fatty and greasy and have a lot of oil in them. I haven't added any oil to this and there's practically no fat, no grease, nothing in here. It's pure chicken, chorizo, tons of flavor in it. It's absolutely amazing. After about 10 minutes, we're gonna remove the chorizo from the pan, set it aside, and then we'll come back to it later. To the same skillet where we cooked the chorizo, I'm gonna add the tomatoes. I'm using 6 of them. You can use more or less depending on how spicy you're gonna want it or how much salsa you want. So 6 Roma tomatoes. I'm using 1 onion. This is a smaller one. If you're using a bigger one, only use half. And then we're gonna just start sauteing it up until there's some color in the tomato and the onion. For this part, we are gonna add a little bit of oil. This is how it'll start looking when you first put them in. It has been about 5-6 minutes since we've been cooking the tomato and the onion. Now we're gonna add in garlic. You can use as much or as little as you want. I used 4 biggish cloves. For the spice, we're using chile de arbol. These are pretty spicy, so if you want it on the milder side, only use 1 or 2. I like it kind of spicy, so I'm using all 6 of them. We're gonna add them in here and we're gonna saute this for about 5 to 6 more minutes. Once this mixture is looking like this, we're gonna turn off the heat, add everything to a blender and blend it up. There's so much flavor in this pan, we're gonna add a little bit of water to pick it all up and we're gonna add this to the blender as well. The only thing we're not adding to the blender is the chorizo. We'll add this later once it's blended. This is about half a cup of water. We're gonna add it in here. The only seasoning we're adding to this is a little bit of tomato chicken bouillon, or you can just use salt. I'm gonna do about a tablespoon. And we're gonna blend this up until it's perfectly smooth and combined. Now that our salsa roja is blended, we're gonna add it to the skillet. At this point, it's just gonna be on a low heat just to keep it warm. And we're gonna mix in about half of the cooked chorizo. This is what's gonna make our chorizo salsa roja for the chilaquiles. And just let this hang out while you prepare the tortilla chips, the eggs, and anything else you wanna add to your chilaquiles. We can't have chilaquiles without the crispy tortilla chips, so in a skillet, we're gonna fry up our tortillas. I like to use yellow corn. You can also use white corn, or you can also use store-bought tortilla chips, but those get soggy a lot faster, so if you don't mind them getting soggy, you can use store-bought. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil, a lot of oil, just so that they can get perfectly crispy. Your tortillas, you can either cut them in little squares or little triangles. Growing up, we always did squares, but now I like to do little triangles just because I feel like it looks better in the video, in the picture, and everything. I cut them in half, then in half again, and then I cut these quarters into half again. So basically you're doing 8 different cuts. These are our tortilla chips. Rule of thumb for your chilaquiles, if you're feeding 4 people, it's usually around 3 to 4 tortillas per person. Obviously you can do more or less, but roughly that's how much you will use. Once your tortilla chips are crispy, we're gonna remove from the oil. You can put them on a paper lined plate to let them soak up any excess oil. And we're gonna season them with a little bit of salt. They're like perfectly golden brown and crispy. The last thing we're gonna do for our chilaquiles is start cooking up our eggs. You can do them however you like, scrambled, sunny side up, over easy. I like mine just simply fried sunny side up. I don't like to flip them. I usually like 2 eggs with my chilaquiles. It may look like a lot of oil in here, but the eggs aren't gonna soak up the oil. Once the whites start setting around the egg, I'm simply gonna cover it with a lid and let the heat do the rest of the cooking. This will take about a minute or 2. This is what your eggs should look like. The last step to making your chilaquiles is obviously assembling them. So back in the same skillet, we're gonna add in our salsa. To the salsa, we're gonna add in our chips and mix it around until they're fully covered. Lastly, we're gonna top it off with some cheese. This is optional, but we love cheese, and we're using the V&V Supremo Queso Chihuahua. And the carryover heat from the salsa and everything will help melt the cheese. Now the best part, assembling the chilaquiles. This is how I like to assemble mine. I start with a bed of refried beans, and then our cheesy chilaquiles, our cheesy chorizo chilaquiles, we're gonna top the chilaquiles with your egg, more of the chicken chorizo, we're drizzling it with some crema. And last but not least, some queso fresco. This is how you make chorizo chilaquiles. I can't wait to dig into these. It's so easy to make them, so delicious. My favorite part ever about chilaquiles is the runny yolk. It becomes one with the sauce. So let's see how I did. Oh, it's perfect. Look at that. I can't wait to dig into these. With the perfect bite, some egg, tortilla chips, with the chorizo. These are so good. If you want to get your hands on this chicken chorizo from B&B Supremo, you can check out their website. They have a store locator on there where you can find what stores have what products. You can also go through Instacart, search chicken chorizo from B&B Supremo, and it'll also show you what stores have it in stock. It's so delicious. If you haven't tried it, you need to try it as soon as possible. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what else you guys want to see from me next.